Okay, so the brush I always use to apply concealer is the 185, and it has a tapered tip to it, so you can get into small corners. It's made of synthetic bristles. And the other brush you can use is also synthetic. It's the 232, which I usually use for cream products like eyeshadow primer. So to put concealer on, I'm using Makeup Forever's Full Cover, and it's a liquid formula, which in the directions it's you're supposed to use it by adding it in light layers. So what I'm doing is starting off with a little bit, because I know, even though I know it won't cover everything I need it to cover, it's best to first, I should say that I have foundation on already. If you're doing a really heavy eyeshadow look, you want to do your eyeshadow first and then add foundation and then concealer. If you're doing a really light eye, you could do concealer around your eyes first, followed by shadow. You could probably do foundation first if you wanted. Some people add concealer on after they put foundation on, just because by putting foundation on, you kind of displace any of the concealer that you've already added. So to ensure that it all stays and you don't have to kind of reapply, which makes, you know, your face look kind of cakey because it has so much product on, you want to just put on concealer once. So I'm layering this onto a moisturized area of my face. And because it's waterproof, if you don't moisturize before you put it on, it will definitely settle into the lines and kind of make that area look dry. I'm just going in a light patting motion. And you'll notice this shade, you can really tell that it's lighter than my natural skin tone. And that's okay because I'm going around the eye area, and you want that area to be brighter to make you look more awake. So anything around the eye, you want to go a shade lighter than your natural foundation color. And I like that this full cover foundation is buildable, so for those who want sheer coverage or full coverage, reapply in small amounts. Because if you try to do it in one shot, it may turn out to be a goopy mess. This way, since it's waterproof, every layer is thin and dries quickly. So you don't have to really wait that long to get the coverage you want. And this is my favorite concealer. I've used it for half a decade. And believe me, I've searched high and low for any concealer that could cover the scar that I have underneath my eye. And this is the only one that covers it to the point where people can't even, or they tell me they don't even know that I have a scar here. And I know that if I accidentally rub my eye or if it's raining, it won't go anywhere since it's waterproof. if you wanted, you could use your finger. I just use a brush so the cleanup is a lot easier. I don't have to get anything on my hands, but always use your ring finger because it'll apply the smallest amount or least amount of pressure underneath your eye, which is a sensitive area. And if you keep pounding at it or dragging it, it will become puffy. So use a light hand, or a light finger I should say, and go outward from the inner corner of the eye to the outside. And I also use a brush because when you use your finger, you definitely get product on it, and you know, it's either you're spreading it or you're just picking up the product onto your finger, and that's where it's staying. So other than the areas around my eye, I also put concealer around my nostrils. So around here, just because those appear darker. At the beginning of my eyebrows, for the same reason. You could put it on the bridge of your nose if you wanted to, make your nose appear longer. I usually put it on my chin, around my lips, which is a must if you're doing a red lip or dark lip. And the other secret to applying concealer is that you don't want to use a shade that's lighter than your skin tone if you're trying to hide a blemish. So for instance, I have this little spot here, which used to be a pimple and is now kind of a reddish brown scar. I don't want to highlight that, which is what would happen if I use the Makeup Forever. So now I'm using MAC's Studio Stick Foundation SPF 15 and NC 32, which is the shade of my skin. And I'm using a brush from Sephora, which is a round crease eyeshadow brush. You could use any brush that has a fine tip to it, or even a lip brush if you wanted. So I just took a little bit, dabbed it onto my brush, and I'm gonna lightly apply that to the blemish. So just find the closest shade to your natural skin tone as possible. Okay, and now that I've added concealer everywhere that I've wanted to, I have to set it. So I'm using the 225 brush, which is fluffy, not that, it's definitely larger than an eyeshadow brush, but smaller than a foundation brush. And around my eye, you can either use translucent or colorless setting powder. I'm using Mineralized Skin Finish in medium. I'm just gonna roll that across. To set the liquid concealer. And that is how you apply concealer.